The Sutton SignWriting Standard of 2017 by Stephen E Slevinski Jr. The big umbrella of the Center for Sutton Movement Writing. All sign languages are supported right now. We have various handwriting styles with cursive, block printing, and shorthand. We have over 7 years of stable and free standards. And we have international cooperation from dozens of countries around the world. Signwriting, a brief history. In 1966, Valerie Sutton invented the dance writing notation. In 1974, Valerie Sutton invented the signwriting script based on her dance writing notation. From 1974 to 1986, signwriting was written exclusively by hand. From 1981 to 1984, a monthly signwriting newsletter was published. Preparation of the newsletter was time-consuming and tedious because the signwriting was created by hand, but it wasn't supposed to look like it was handwritten. Later, stencils and wax transfers were used to simplify publication. In 1986, SignWriter was created that made it possible to type signwriting with an innovative keyboard design and a circular cursor. SignWriter DOS development continued until 1995. The program was translated into a dozen different languages. SignWriter DOS can still be used today using an emulator such as DOSBox. In 2004, a drag-and-drop user interface was introduced that made it possible to create signs on the internet. In 2006, signwriting was assigned the ISO 15924 script code of SGNW. In 2010, the International Signwriting Alphabet was released. This was the 7th major symbol set released for signwriting. Also called the ISWA 2010, this symbol set is still used today. In 2012, formal signwriting in ASCII was released, known as FSW. This character encoding made it possible to write a sign as a string of characters that was easy to share and process. In 2015, the ISWA 2010 was added to the Unicode Standard in the Sutton SignWriting block. In 2017, SignWriting in Unicode was released, known as SWU. This character encoding records the same information as FSW, but has several significant improvements over FSW. The SignWriting Standard of 2017 deals with two simple concepts: characters and fonts. Characters are used to name signs. Just as cat is spelled with the characters C-A-T, a sign can be spelled with the characters of signwriting. Fonts are used to view signs. While the characters C-A-T are concepts, you need to use a font to be able to view those characters. The signwriting fonts work the same. Signwriting follows 4 design principles. The first principle is completeness. The design must be able to support all of the structures inherent to the script. The second principle is universality. The design must support all sign languages without the addition of new characters and without requiring constant font updates. The third principle is empowerment. The design must enable the writers to decide for themselves the spelling of their respective sign languages. The fourth principle is possibility. The design must work with existing font technologies. We are building on the 2012 standard of formal signwriting in ASCII. This standard has been stable since its initial release, and it is still usable today. Each sign is written as a string of characters that creates a mathematical name. These names are 20 to 50 times smaller than the image of a sign in SVG or PNG format. With this standard, the name of a sign looks like data rather than signwriting. The names are human readable if you understand the rules and conventions of FSW. The 2017 standard of signwriting in Unicode is an improvement upon formal signwriting in ASCII. While the one-dimensional representation of the sign still looks like data, it is clearly signwriting as well. The SWU standard is endorsed by the Center for Sutton Movement Writing, and we encourage others to join us with the new standard. SWU is not part of the official Unicode standard yet, but discussions are ongoing. SWU is equivalent to FSW with an easy bidirectional conversion. Any sign written with FSW can be converted into SWU Likewise, any sign written in SWU can be converted back into FSW. Both standards are useful, and programmers are free to choose either character set, but we encourage everyone to move to the SWU standard, which offers several advantages over FSW. Unicode is a worldwide character standard which only addresses the encoding and semantics of text. Unicode is the modern way to represent text for computer processing. Sutton SignWriting is a complex script because it is truly two-dimensional in nature. While other scripts may have complex arrangements in 2 dimensions, these scripts only have a limited amount of variability. SignWriting is different in quality and nature. SignWriting allows for the free-form arrangement of a sign within a 2-dimensional cluster. While this aspect of SignWriting is outside of the Unicode domain experts, SignWriting is clearly text, which fits within the Unicode charter. The SignWriting encoding holds to as many principles of Unicode as possible, while still allowing for SignWriting text which is usable and effective. SVG is a widely supported image standard that is used to create images which can scale to larger sizes without degrading the image quality. SVG is 2-dimensional in nature and based on Cartesian coordinates of XY values. With SignWriting, any sign can be converted into an SVG image with a simple function. SVG images are written as XML text, which appears similar to HTML. The Sutton SignWriting fonts have been updated for 2017 with better quality and more options. The fonts are freely available for download and installation. Installation of the fonts is not required, but installing the fonts will improve the user experience and avoid repeated downloads of the same fonts. Additionally, installing the fonts will allow for their use throughout the user's computer. For use with SVG, 2 fonts are available, the Sutton SignWriting Line font and the Sutton SignWriting Fill font. The line font represents the shape of the symbol image. The fill font represents the negative space of the symbol image. The negative space is used as the filling of the hand-shaped palms or the arrow heads and tails. The negative space is important when symbols overlap. All symbols have a symbol line, but not all symbols have a symbol fill. These SVG fonts are used with both FSW and SWU. For SignWriting in Unicode, 2 fonts are defined, the Sutton SignWriting 1D font and the Sutton SignWriting 2D font. The 1D font is available now. With the 1D font, each sign is displayed as a string of characters. It is a meaningful one-dimensional representation of a sign. The 2D font development is planned for 2018. With the 2D font, each sign will be displayed as a 2-dimensional cluster of symbols. Both fonts will use the same SWU characters. Every sign can be viewed with either font. While the 2-dimensional font is used for reading, the 1-dimensional font is useful for analysis. Characters are used to name signs. Characters are distinct units of information. Characters are combined to form strings. Each character is associated with a number. With formal SignWriting in ASCII, every symbol is named with a string of 6 characters. In this example, the movement arrow has the name S26B02. When this string is written in Unicode, it is written as a list of numbers. Regardless of the size of the numbers, 8-bit, 16-bit, or 32-bit, the symbol is always written as 6 numbers. With SignWriting in Unicode, every symbol is named with a single character, which is the symbol itself. When this character is written in Unicode, it is written as a list of 1 to 4 numbers. Regardless of the size of the numbers, the symbol is always written using 32 bits. With English, spelling is straightforward. Cat is spelled C-A-T. With SignWriting, how do you spell this sign here? Is it head, hand, movement, or is it hand, movement, head? What about something more complex? While Humpty Dumpty falling off a wall may not be Shakespeare, we still have the question of how to order the symbols. Valerie Sutton provides an answer with the SignSpelling Sequence. A sign is broken down into a series of syllables. The first syllable starts with beginning hand positions, with the dominant hand placed before the non-dominant hand. The second syllable contains movements and dynamics. Additional symbols alternate between hand positions and movement. The last syllable contains faces and locations. The sign spelling sequence is useful for dictionary order and has been tested on an international audience. While this answer isn't the only one possible, we believe it is the most productive. Syllables can be written from two perspectives. The front perspective is the straight-on view of the signer. The top perspective is a top-down view of the signer. Not all syllables are written from a single perspective. Some are mixed and include both the front and top perspectives. Palm facings are an important feature of sign writing that clarify writing. Without palm facings, writing can be sketchy and ambiguous. For the front perspective, the white palm faces the signer, the half palm faces to the side, and an entirely black palm would face away from the signer. The top perspective is indicated with a line break in the hand shape. For the top perspective, the white palm faces up, a half palm would face to the side, and a black palm would face down. Arrows also contain important features. A black arrowhead indicates a right hand movement, while a white arrowhead would indicate a left hand movement. A double-lined arrow tail indicates a movement written from the top perspective. A single-line arrow tail indicates a movement written from the top perspective. Reading a sign directly maps with the syllables identified with the sign spelling sequence. Reading the sign here, we have the starting hand positions, then the movement between, and then the ending hand positions. Now that we have defined the sign spelling sequence, how do we get the two-dimensional sign cluster? More importantly, why isn't the sign spelling sequence equal to another two-dimensional sign arrangement? The truth of the matter is that the sign spelling sequence is not equal to the two-dimensional sign cluster because the two-dimensional cluster is equal to something else. The two-dimensional sign cluster is written as a list of symbols, each positioned with Cartesian coordinates of x, y values. The two-dimensional space of the sign cluster is defined with an x-axis and a y-axis. Any position in the two-dimensional space can be identified with an x value and a y value. When we are writing in two dimensions, each symbol is positioned by the top left corner of the symbol image. The symbols are written on the two-dimensional space, one after the other. When symbols overlap, the symbol written last will be on top. So that brings us to the definition of formal sign writing as a two-part word of time and space. The temporal prefix is a sequential list of symbols with a one-dimensional order in time. The spatial sign box is a cluster of symbols with a two-dimensional order in space. The temporal prefix is a sequential list of symbols that is explicitly ordered by an author using a particular theory. The temporal prefix is neither formatting nor style, it is meaning that is not found in the spatial sign box. The spatial sign box is a cluster of symbols that are specifically ordered by an author using two-dimensional space. The spatial sign box is neither formatting nor style, it is meaning that is beyond the temporal prefix. With the spatial sign box, the specific order of the symbols only matters for overlap. For this sign, a correct order for overlap must write the hand after the head. These three examples are all equivalent and demonstrate the principle that two-dimensional space does not have an objective one-dimensional order. Any one-dimensional order of two-dimensional space is subjective. With the spatial sign box, the specific order of the symbols does matter for overlap. For this sign, an incorrect order of the symbols will write the head after the hand. This results in the curve of the head covering part of the hand shape's palm. These spellings are incorrect and dissimilar to this previous sign example. When reading sign writing, we want to view the sign as a two-dimensional cluster of symbols. The question becomes, how does the spatial sign box definition become the two-dimensional arrangement? With our current technology, signs written in SignWriting in Unicode or formal sign writing in ASCII can be identified with regular expressions, which is a tool for recognizing patterns. Once identified, a sign can be rewritten with SVG, so that the sign is shown as a two-dimensional cluster of symbols rather than a string of characters. With our future technology, the SignWriting and Unicode characters can be automatically processed by the operating system using a two-dimensional font, the same as other scripts. This development is planned for 2018. The two-dimensional font will leverage the Universal Shaping Engine, a widely supported rendering system for complex scripts. The Sutton SignWriting Standard of 2017 is a stable platform for growth. We are entering a new era of signwriting with new characters for naming signs and new fonts for viewing signs. We encourage everyone to adopt the new standards, and we look forward to a bright future for written sign language and international cooperation. Thank you for watching this presentation. I'm always interested in your feedback, comments, and questions.